Hey, what's up? How would you like to run your Serenity BDD test suite faster and more reliably at scale across multiple devices and multiple browsers if you need to? Well, that's what we can do with BrowserStack. Serenity BDD and BrowserStack have virtually seamless integration, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. We're going to walk through the steps of how to integrate your Serenity BDD tests and get them running on a real BrowserStack instance. I'll show you how to set up a trial account if you need to and get your tests up and running so you can really see what it does for you. And you'll see it's a really simple process. You'll be up and running literally in about 5 minutes. So watch this video to the end and I think you'll find it really, really useful. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is head on over to browserstack.com and set up a free trial account. This is so that you can really see how easy it is to actually integrate with Serenity BDD and BrowserStack and see how it works in practice. It's really easy to do. It only takes a couple of minutes. So you click on free trial. You're going to enter your name. So, yep, that'll do. And I'm going to use an email account that I have created for the purposes. I'm going to enter a password. And then I'm going to sign up for a new account. We don't really need to worry about this too much. We just let BrowserStack set things up. And what this will give you is it'll give you a trial account with, I think it's 100 minutes of automation. Now, by default, it's going to open up in this dashboard where we can do live testing. We're not really interested in that for our purposes. So what we want to go is go into products and go to automate. This is the section that we're really interested in for our testing. And now that our account has been set up, what we need to do is find our username and our access key. These are going to be essential for our testing. This is how we basically connect Serenity to BrowserStack. So to find that, we can close this welcome screen. And up here where it says access key, we click on that and we can see the username and the access key. I'm going to copy these. I'll just put them in my text file because we're going to need them later on, because this is how we're going to connect to BrowserStack. There are two ways to use these variables. You can either use them directly in your test script, but that's a little bit clunky and you don't want to be putting access keys into your version control. So normally what we do is we put them in environment variables. And by convention, there are a couple of environment variables that we typically use. So what I'm going to do is open up the environment variable panel. So you can do the system one or the user one, depending on how much access you have on your machine. I'm going to go and find the environment variables section, which is here, and we're going to add some environment variables. Now, the two environment variables that we're interested in are BrowserStack. These are conventions, but generally speaking, it's useful to follow these conventions because a lot of the examples do as well. So BrowserStack username will be our username, so this guy. And then we're going to add BrowserStack access key. Stack access key, which is our access key. Now we want to remember those variables because we're going to be using them later on. And now we're all set to go. We can integrate BrowserStack with Serenity. So the next thing we want to do is find a project to work with. So I'm going to use one of the demo projects from the Serenity BDD repository. So I'm going to head on over to github.com/serenitybdd and I'm going to select the Serenity To Do MVC demo app. So we can go ahead and use this template to create our own repository. So I'm going to create a new repository called Serenity Tutorial. It's already there. Okay, let's call it Serenity BrowserStack Tutorial. and we are going to create that repository to play with. Now we have our repository. I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to head on over to IntelliJ and I'm going to create a new project from version control. And I'm going to clone this repository locally. And now our project is ready to go. Now let's walk through this application just to see what we're actually testing. This is a simple application that tests the To-Do MVC app that you may have come across. It's a Cucumber application, Cucumber test suite, where we have a number of Cucumber feature files that explore features such as adding new to-dos, completing to-dos, filtering to-dos, deleting to-dos, and so forth. There are about a dozen tests in all, I think. And the way we run this test is from the Cucumber test suite executor. You can see this is a JUnit 5 Cucumber test suite. If I run this either directly here or from Maven, it will kick off the tests. I'm going to run these tests. We'll see what it does in the background, but in the meantime, they are running in headless mode, so you won't actually see them come up, but we will see the tests execute in the execution panel that we can see down here. So it's building the project. I may need to download things because it's the first time. And now as it's setting things up, I'm going to open up the Serenity conf file. Now this is where we configure our Serenity execution. We define the base URL where we open the application, the browser, the default driver, which is Chrome, and we give some of the W3C capabilities, things like the Google Chrome options in particular. You can notice here we are running it in headless mode as well, just so that the browser doesn't pop up in front of us. We can turn this off and run it in normal mode if we want. So let's just watch this execute and just watch these, watch the features and the scenarios kick off. So I sped up that video a little bit so that you wouldn't sit around watching a set of boring tests run. It actually took about 1.5 minutes in all. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we can integrate these tests with BrowserStack so that we can actually run them in the BrowserStack environment rather than running them locally. And so this is where it gets really interesting. There are a couple of things we need to do, and it's really simple. The first one is we are going to go into the pom.xml file and we are going to add the BrowserStack Serenity integration. So we can see here the Serenity dependencies. We have core, JUnit 5, screenplay, Cucumber, and so forth. What we're going to do is we're going to add another dependency. I'm just going to add them here. And the dependency we want is Serenity BrowserStack. Serenity BrowserStack. And that will have exactly the same version and group as the previous ones. So depending on how up-to-date your indexes are on IntelliJ, IntelliJ will usually help you out with this, but this is a new installation, so I don't think the indexes are or up to date. But in any case, we add this dependency exactly the same as all the others, except that we add Serenity BrowserStack. And now it will find that after a while once it updates its indexes, so we don't need to worry about that it is spelled correctly. Yep, we are good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Serenity conf file, and we're going to change our configuration so that our web test will run against the BrowserStack instance. And now, so how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is change the driver from Chrome to remote. So we're going to be running with a remote driver instead of a Chrome driver. And then the remote URL will define where the BrowserStack is actually running. So the remote URL, I'm going to copy this over and I will put this in the text. Let's see if that copies over. The remote URL is BrowserStack username and BrowserStack access key, and then this hub BrowserStack.com. Now that is a standard URL. That'll work for any BrowserStack test. The trick here is we have used those username and access key environment variables that we defined earlier on and that we got from our BrowserStack environment. Now that is the trick. Now you remember we set up those environment variables. I'm not sure whether we can still see them here. But in any case, we have those environment variables set up, and that's what will enable us to connect to Serenity. Now, the final trick is we don't actually need to worry about this for our minimal installation, our minimal test execution. All we need to do is say the browser name. So we have the browser, the web driver is remote. The remote URL is this string here, and the capability is browser name. Now what we're going to do is run these tests once more and we'll see what happens in BrowserStack. So we're kicking off the tests. It's instantiating the tests. And we can head on over to BrowserStack as soon as this gets up and running. And we can have a look at the tests being executed. And see here, one is being executed. It's only one of them out of 5. The reason for that is that we haven't enabled a parallel execution yet. We'll be doing that later on. So let's go and see if we can actually see the tests running. And so we can see here, we have these tests up and running, and we can even see, so this one's passed, and we can see the videos of the tests running. If we actually want to see what that did, we can go and see, oh yep, it's entering buy some milk, walk some dog, and so forth. And so we can see now we have our tests up and running. They are now not running locally, but they are running against BrowserStack. So that, in a nutshell, is how we configure BrowserStack to run with Serenity. You can see it's really, really simple. All we need to do is set the remote driver, set the remote URL, and define the BrowserStack username and access key. Now that is the basics. In the next video, I'll take a look at some of the more advanced features and see how that BrowserStack, Serenity BrowserStack dependency that we added, what that does, and how that helps us streamline this dependency. So hopefully this is showing you just how easy it is to integrate with BrowserStack in your Serenity test. Just a few lines of configuration file and you're up and running. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already done so, set up that trial account and give this project a go. I'll share the URL shortly, so you can even download this URL, this sample project, and run it on your own machine. So that's how we set up Serenity BDD and BrowserStack. You can really see just how seamless it is. Now, if you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there's going to be a whole series of videos on different techniques for using BrowserStack and Serenity, so you can really streamline your tests and scale out your tests, make them run faster, more efficiently, more reliably across multiple browsers and multiple platforms, and get a lot more power out of your tests than you could just running them locally. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next video.